out that you were involved in giving a great deal of nourishment to the people. However, in order for my contribution to be realized and enjoyed, I have to totally be committed. Now, if I asked husbands, are you committed to your wife? Are you willing to lay down your life for your wife? Most men would say, yes. I'm prepared to protect her, giving up my dying breath. But let me ask you this. And again, I go back to what happened to me just on Friday when I had my temper tantrums. Are you willing to lay down your pride? Hold your tongue when you're cranky? And keep your temper when you're stressed out? To the Lord, His bride is radiant, without stain or wrinkle or any blemish, holy and blameless, all day, every day, no matter what. Can you honestly say that you look at your wife through the same lens that Christ looks at His bride, the church, with the level of commitment that He has for it? Young men, we have a few here in the congregation today. When you start dating, keep this in mind. Or if you've already started dating, this still applies. You're not going to marry every girl you date. But that doesn't mean you should treat her like yesterday's trash either. She should be better off because you dated her. Now, you don't realize it, but your future wife may be dating someone right now. Don't you think you'll want him to treat her with the dignity, respect, and honor so that she understands what a proper relationship is like, one in love and honor? If not, you're going to have to make up for the damage that he causes in her heart, her soul, and her spirit. So you need to ensure that you treat the young ladies that you date like they were your wife. Now, that doesn't mean they are your wife yet. Eventually, you will find the one that God has chosen for you, and she needs to know that she can trust you in everything. Managing your finances, helping around the house, managing your time, and most importantly, leading your family to a relationship with God through His Son, Jesus Christ. Now, the wife must respect her husband. In his book, 7 Things He'll Never Tell You, Dr. Kevin Lehman has found by his research that respect is most important to men, while women most value affection. And Paul got it 2,000 years ago without the research grant. Now, then, I've got to say this. Respect is a two-way street. We respect people based on position, and we respect people based on the way they act or the type of person he or she is. So, for example, we would respect the fact that a U.S. Senator who holds a belief counter to our own is an elected official. We greet him with the honor due his position, appropriate title. However, we do not have to agree with him, accept his beliefs or positions on issues, or even like him. If he were to belittle us or treat us disrespectfully, we would still have to respect his position as an elected official. But we would not be required to respect him as an individual if he treated us that way. That doesn't mean we have the right as Christians to talk badly about him. We're duty-bound to forgive. But that doesn't mean we have to forget or to trust, if he's from our district, to vote him back in. Similarly, men, your wife respects you as her husband and the father of her children. It's completely and wholly up to you if she respects you based on your actions. Brothers and sisters, I'm sure that you'll agree with me when I say that it's in your best interest to show your spouse at least as much respect as you would a complete stranger, co-worker, boss, client, or celebrity. After all, your spouse is the most important person in your life, right?
Amen.
Thank you. Now, imagine how you would treat a truly important person, and then treat your spouse that way. And ladies, a man needs his wife to be respectful of him in the way that she talks about him to others, especially to each other. Men, remember where God chose to take the bone to create them. Women a woman needs her husband to speak to her in love as an equal. And you show respect and love to your spouse by also keeping sensitive areas of your relationship confidential. Work out your differences together in a spirit of loving concern for each other, rather than individually going to friends, family members, to complain or discuss confidential matters. Maintaining loyalty, integrity, and confidentiality to your spouse will be the best thing that you can do for your relationship. I highlighted it in yellow. I can't make it stand out anymore. Dads, the way you treat your wife is the way your son is going to learn to treat his wife, and the way your daughter is going to learn how a wife should be treated. Now, you may realize I went with the new SMS text version translation here. I don't think it's been published yet by any of the publishing houses, but I'm hoping the kids can get it. Kids, obey your parents in the Lord. Honor your dad and mom, the first command with a promise, so it goes well with you and you can enjoy long life. Now, kids, I'm going to admit it right from the beginning. You get the short version here. Do what your parents say when they say to do it. Delayed obedience is also disobedience. If you decide to delay, I guarantee that you're going to get caught and you're going to face the consequences. You're going to lose more time than you would have if you'd just done the original task when you were told to do it. So, in the words of the famous theologian, Larry the Cable Guy, get it done! Now, then you get to go out and play and have fun. On the flip side of this command, dads, you're going to see point number 4, which is coming up, and pay it. Kids, that part was for you. And then number 4, you're really going to want to focus in on. But we're going to talk a little bit about honoring your father and mother, no matter how old they are. Again, the first commandment, that it may go well with you and enjoy long life on earth. We could spend an entire sermon on this one commandment alone. Don't worry, I'm not going to preach 2 back-to-back sermons this morning, or probably anymore. But when we get married, parents are no longer our first concern. Our spouse and our kids take the front burner. Now, Genesis 2:24, and Jesus repeats again in Matthew 19:5, for this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. So we need to remember where we came from and give proper honor to our parents and our parents-in-laws. Now, I'm a formal communicator. I use ranks or titles when I address people. Here in Japan, I add san when I'm talking to folks. Junko-san, someone else. Now, I call my father-in-law Tatai, my mother-in-law Nanai, which is Tagalog for dad and mom. And I generally insist that kids call adults Mr., Mrs. So-and-so, Mr. Dave, Mr. Dean. And I have to tell you that it burns my biscuits that my sister calls her in-laws by their first name. And that my brother-in-law calls my mom Carol. Especially since that's not even her name. Well, it is, but to me, it's disrespectful. Her name is Mom. So, maybe I just need to get with the times. But I can tell you, that just ain't going to happen. No matter how old we get, we need to show respect to our parents when we talk to them, and especially when we talk about them. Remember, the way you treat your parents is most likely the same way your kids will treat you when they're adults. And yes, you're supposed to honor your father and mother, but you don't necessarily need to build a shrine for them. Okay, kids? This is for you. This is the verse you want to memorize. Fathers, do not exasperate your children. Don't forget the second part. Bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. Proverbs 22:6 tells us to train a child in the way that he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Now, Deuteronomy chapter 6 also says, "These are the commands, decrees, and laws the Lord your God directed me to teach you to observe in the land that you are crossing the Jordan to possess, so that you, your children, and their children after them may fear the Lord, your God, as long as you live, by keeping all his decrees and commands that I give you, so that you may enjoy long life. These commandments that I give you today are to be upon your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up." Fathers, it's your God-given responsibility to teach your children. Look at the words Moses used. Impress it upon them when you're sitting at home or when you're out walking along the road, or in today's vernacular, when you're out in the car, as they get ready for bed at night, when they arise in the morning. You can use them all as teaching moments. One great strategy is to read a chapter of Proverbs each day of the month. There's 31 chapters, and generally 31 days in a month. Every once in a while, you got to double up, but especially during February. That could be 28 or 29 days. But the point is, if you take a chapter a day, then you will have the wisdom of Solomon 12 times a year throughout each year. And I can guarantee you this, as I read through the Proverbs, it's like when I reread and relearned, checked that instruction manual, there's all kinds of things I wish that I had learned when I was younger that would have saved me a lot of personal pain and challenges. And I'm sure many of us can attest to, yeah, there are a lot of good lessons in there. So how do we get our children to learn those lessons? We impress it upon them. Maybe before you go to bed at night, maybe you do it in the morning before they go to school, whatever works for you. Now, I'm going to finish with a few quick tidbits on raising your kids that I've picked up either over the years in books, from experience, or from some of my mistakes. Constantly remind your children that they are loved. Build them up and encourage them. Now, men, your wife and your kids spell love T-I-M-E. Spend yours wisely with them. Make sure you factor it into your schedule, especially for us who deploy or support the military. Maybe not we're in the military, but they go what we would call TAD just as much as many of us do. Have different work-related travels that take us away. You have to make it a priority to put the time into your schedule, or else your day is just going to schedule you. Go outside. Play with your sons and daughters. Fathers, take your daughters on special one-on-one dates. It should show them what they can expect a date to be like, and it teaches them the limits, Dad. Daughters either have such a great relationship with their father that they measure the boys against their dad before they consider the courtship, or else they have such a horrible, attention-starved relationship with their father and they're in need of acceptance that they're willing to take whatever young man comes along at any price, willing to go any length to have male affection to make up for the attention that they didn't get. Decide now which you'll be. Now, I've heard that from several sources. One is a book from Dodson. Another is a friend of mine who we were both majors together, and he told me when he was a single guy, and he said he either had to, when he was dating women, he had one of two instances. He either had to measure up and surpass the relationship they had with the father. They had such a horrible relationship that he had to make up for it. And I don't know, for the women who are here today, what kind of relationship you had with your dad. If it winds up that it wasn't the best, we are commanded to honor our parents, and the Lord told us to forgive. Now, I'm just going to give a quick piece of advice here, and I'm actually departing from what I've written. If you hold on to whatever that pain may have been from when you were younger, it's going to eat you alive. In order for you to properly honor your father, you need to let it go and you need to forgive. And if he's still alive, you can